Captain Maya Chen drummed her fingers against the armrest of her command chair, watching as the vast emptiness of the Alcyon sector stretched out before the viewport of the survey vessel Artemis. 6 months into their cartography mission, and the tedium was beginning to wear on even her legendary patience. "Status report," she called, more from habit than necessity. Lieutenant Raj Patel looked up from his navigation console. "All systems normal, Captain. We're on course to complete the survey of grid sector A7 within the next 36 hours. Maya nodded. Raj was brilliant and methodical, if somewhat lacking in imagination. The perfect navigator for a deep space survey mission, unlike some of her other crew members. "Captain," called Ensign Eliza Zhang, their young sensor specialist. "I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations about 2 light minutes from our position." Dr. Nikolai Volkov, the ship's exophysicist, was instantly at her station, peering over her shoulder. "What kind of fluctuations?" "I'm not sure." Eliza frowned at her readouts. "It's like ripples in subspace, similar to a jump signature, but not quite. The pattern is unlike anything in our database." Maya straightened in her chair. After months of cataloging unremarkable star systems and charting navigational hazards, anything unusual was worth investigating. "Alter course to investigate," she ordered. "Keep all sensors at maximum sensitivity." The Artemis changed direction, its powerful engines barely making a vibration through the deck plates. For a survey vessel, it was surprisingly well equipped. Maya had always suspected their scientific mission was at least partially a cover for gathering intelligence on this contested region of space. "The anomaly is approximately 12,000 kilometers from Proxima Station," Raj noted, referring to the abandoned research outpost that had been decommissioned decades ago after the Frontier Accords. "Any correlation between the station and the energy readings?" Maya asked. Nikolai shook his head, his thick Russian accent more pronounced when he was intrigued. "Impossible. Proxima Station has been powered down for over 30 years. No one has been out here since the withdrawal." "Captain," Eliza called again, her voice tense. "The energy signature just changed. It's intensifying." The main view screen shifted to show a section of space near a cluster of asteroids. At first, Maya saw nothing unusual. Then between 2 large rocks, something shimmered. "Magnify," she ordered. The image zoomed in, and Maya felt her breath catch. There, emerging from what appeared to be a distortion in space itself, was a ship, but unlike any vessel she'd seen before. It was angular and predatory, bristling with weapon emplacements that modern vessels had replaced with more elegant integrated systems. Most striking was its color, a deep, light-absorbing black that seemed to bend the starlight around it. In places, the darkness shimmered and shifted as if the ship wasn't fully material. "Is that a military vessel?" Commander Talia Reed, Maya's first officer, asked as she stepped onto the bridge from the lift. "Unknown configuration," Raj reported, his fingers flying over his console. "No transponder signal, no identification markers." "It matches no known ship design in our database," Eliza added, "but the general configuration is consistent with Earth's early expansion-era warships." Maya stared at the image, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. "How old?" "Based on the visible hull architecture, approximately 150 years," Talia replied, squinting at the screen. "From the second colonial expansion." "But that's impossible. No ships from that era are still in service." "Captain," Eliza's voice rose with alarm. "It's scanning us. Deep penetration scan." The mysterious vessel hung in space, dark and silent, its sensors probing the Artemis with an intensity that made the smaller ship's defensive systems flash warnings across the command consoles. "Should we raise shields?" Talia asked. Maya hesitated. "Not yet. Let's not appear hostile." She turned to their communications officer. "Lieutenant Parker, open a channel, all frequencies." Parker nodded, his fingers dancing over his console. "Channel open, Captain." Maya stood, smoothing her uniform. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Survey Ship Artemis. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. Please identify yourself. Silence filled the bridge as they waited for a response. Then, after what felt like an eternity, the speakers crackled with a voice that sounded strangely distorted, as if coming from a great distance despite the proximity of the two ships. This is the UES Vanguard. You have entered a restricted military zone. Identify yourself and your purpose immediately. Maya exchanged glances with Talia before responding. UES Vanguard, we are not aware of any restricted zones in this sector. This is open space near the decommissioned Proxima Station. There was another long pause before the voice returned, now with an edge of confusion. Proxima Station is a critical military research facility under Earth Command protection. Your information is incorrect. Earth Command, Talia whispered. That governing body had been dissolved over a century ago, after the formation of the United Colonies. Maya motioned for Parker to mute the transmission. What the hell is going on here? The UES Vanguard was a destroyer-class vessel from the early colony wars. If I remember my history correctly, it was lost with all hands during the Battle of Proxima in 2298. That was 150 years ago, Nikolai said, his face pale. This cannot be the same ship. Captain, Elisa called out, energy surge detected. The ship is. Her words were cut off as the Vanguard suddenly shimmered and vanished, leaving only empty space where it had been moments before. Where did it go? Maya demanded. Unknown, Eliza responded, frantically scanning. No jump signature, no warp trail. It's just gone. Maya sank back into her command chair, staring at the now empty space on the view screen. Did we just see a ghost? The next 12 hours were spent in intense debate and analysis. Maya ordered the Artemis to maintain position while her science team combed through their sensor readings, looking for any explanation for what they had witnessed. In her ready room, Maya faced her senior officers across the conference table. Theories. Mass hallucination, suggested Dr. Leon Walsh, the ship's physician, though his tone indicated he didn't believe it himself. All of us experiencing the same hallucination, captured on our sensors. Talia shook her head. Not likely. I've been researching historical records, Nikolai said, activating the display in the center of the table. The UES Vanguard was indeed lost during the Battle of Proxima in 2298. It was conducting escort duty for Proxima Station when a rebel fleet attacked. According to the official report, the Vanguard was destroyed defending the station. But Proxima Station survived, Maya noted. Yes, and continued to operate for another 20 years before being decommissioned after the Frontier Accords. So what was the Vanguard doing there? Talia asked. And how is it still intact after 150 years? I have a theory, Elisa said hesitantly. All eyes turned to the young ensign. I've been analyzing the subspace distortions we detected before the ship appeared. They're consistent with theoretical models of temporal displacement. Time travel. Dr. Walsh scoffed. Not exactly, Eliza continued. More like a bubble of space-time experiencing a different temporal flow. The ship might exist partially outside our normal time stream. That would explain why they still think Proxima Station is an active military facility, Raj noted. Maya leaned forward. Are you saying this ship has been trapped in some kind of time bubble for 150 years? Possibly, Nikolai nodded, warming to the theory. Or it's phasing in and out of our time stream. That would explain the disappearance as well. This is all fascinating, Talia said, but what does it mean for us? Is this ship a threat? Before anyone could answer, the ship's alert system blared. Captain to the bridge, Parker's voice came over the intercom. The vessel has reappeared. When they returned to the bridge, the Vanguard was visible on the main screen once more, this time much closer to Proxima Station. They're scanning the station, Eliza reported. Deep scan, similar to what they used on us. Open a channel, Maya ordered. Channel open. UES Vanguard, this is Captain Chen of the Artemis. We'd like to. Stand by, Artemis, the voice interrupted. We are detecting anomalous readings from Proxima Station. Investigating potential security breach. Breach. Maya frowned. The station has been abandoned for decades. No response came. Instead, the Vanguard moved closer to the station, a beam of energy extending from its bow to scan the derelict structure. Captain, Nikolai said urgently, I've been doing some research into Proxima Station's history. Before it was decommissioned, it was rumored to have been the site of Project Sentinel, a classified initiative to develop automated defense systems for the outer colonies. What kind of defense systems? Maya asked. The kind that could identify and neutralize threats without human intervention. The project was officially shut down after the Frontier Accords made such systems illegal. Maya's blood ran cold. Are you saying there could still be active weapons on that station? If there are, Talia said grimly, and that ship activates them. As if in answer to her unspoken fear, Proxima Station suddenly lit up, systems that had been dormant for decades coming online. Lights flickered across its surface as dormant power cores reactivated. Captain, Eliza called. I'm detecting energy signatures activating throughout this entire sector. They're defense platforms, dozens of them, hidden among the asteroids and moons. On the screen, small objects that had been camouflaged as asteroids began to transform, unfolding into weapon platforms that oriented themselves toward predetermined sectors of space. The Sentinel grid, Nikolai whispered. It wasn't decommissioned. It was hidden. And now it's waking up, Maya said. Parker, emergency broadcast to all ships in the sector. Warn them to evacuate immediately. She turned to Raj. Plot an intercept course with the Vanguard. We need to stop this before. A flash of light from Proxima Station interrupted her. A powerful beam shot out from the station's main array, targeting a distant moon. When it hit, the impact was devastating, carving a glowing crater into the lifeless rock. That was a test firing, Talia said. The system is calibrating. Captain, Parker called. I'm detecting multiple civilian vessels in this sector. Mining operations, transport ships, a science outpost on Alcyon IV with over 2,000 colonists. Maya's mind raced. If this ancient defense grid went fully online, the devastation would be catastrophic. The modern ships in the region would have no warning, no way to identify themselves as friendly to a system programmed to recognize friend from foe by standards 150 years out of date. The Vanguard must have some kind of control override, she reasoned. It's the key to this whole system. She turned to Talia. Assemble a boarding team. We're going over there. Boarding? Talia's eyes widened. Captain, we don't know what we're dealing with. That ship could phase out again at any moment. Then we'd better move quickly, Maya replied, her jaw set with determination. Because if we don't stop this now, thousands of people are going to die. As the Artemis moved to intercept the ghost ship, Maya watched the ancient vessel on the view screen. What secrets did it hold? What fate had befallen its crew? And could she stop it before the forgotten protocols of a long-dead war brought destruction to this peaceful sector? The answers waited aboard the Vanguard, and time was running out. The shuttle bay of the Artemis bustled with activity as Captain Maya Chen checked her tactical gear one final time. Her boarding team, Talia, Nikolai, Dr. Walsh, and 2 security officers, prepared nearby, their expressions tense but determined. Remember, Maya addressed them. Our priority is to reach the bridge and find a way to deactivate the Sentinel grid. We have no idea what we'll find aboard that ship, so stay alert and stay together. What if it phases out while we're aboard? Asked Ensign Rivera, one of the security officers. Then we phase with it, Maya replied grimly, and hope we can find a way back. Raj's voice came over the comm. Vanguard is holding position near Proxima Station. We're on approach, ETA 3 minutes. Maya nodded to her team. Let's move. The shuttle detached from the Artemis with barely a shudder, its thrusters guiding it toward the massive black form of the Vanguard. Up close, the ancient warship was even more imposing, its hull pitted with micrometeorite impacts, yet still intimidating in its brutal efficiency. No visible docking ports, Talia observed as they approached. There, Maya pointed to a section of the hull that seemed different from the rest. That looks like an emergency airlock, standard configuration for ships of that era. The shuttle maneuvered closer, extending a docking tube that sealed against the Vanguard's hull with a metallic clang that reverberated through their small craft. Pressure equalized, Rivera reported. We have a good seal. Maya activated the cutting torch on her suit, carefully slicing through the aged metal of the emergency airlock. It gave way with surprising ease, as if yielding to the inevitability of their intrusion. Stay in communication range, she instructed Raj over the comm. If the defense grid activates fully, get the Artemis to safety. That's an order. Understood, Captain. Good luck. One by one, they pushed through the makeshift entrance and into the darkness of the Vanguard. Their helmet lights cut through the gloom, revealing a narrow maintenance corridor. The air was stale but breathable, preserved by systems that should have failed a century ago. Life support is still functioning, Dr. Walsh noted, consulting his scanner. Oxygen levels are acceptable, though the air is heavily filtered. We can remove our helmets, Maya decided after a moment's consideration. But keep them ready. With their helmets detached, the team could now hear the ship, a low, rhythmic hum that seemed to emanate from the bulkheads themselves, punctuated by occasional creaks and groans. This way, Talia said, consulting the schematics they had downloaded from historical archives. The main corridor should lead us to a turbolift that can take us to the bridge. They moved cautiously through the dimly lit passageways, their footsteps echoing on the metal decking. The interior of the ship was surprisingly well preserved, as if frozen in time. No signs of battle damage, no evidence of the catastrophe that had reportedly claimed the vessel a century and a half ago. It's like everyone just walked away, Nikolai whispered, running his fingers along a console that still displayed readouts in an antiquated format. Maybe they did, Maya replied, her voice equally hushed. The ship had an undeniable presence, like a slumbering beast they were trying not to wake. They reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 branches. Talia consulted her schematic again, frowning. Something's wrong, she said. This doesn't match the historical layout. The ship might have been modified before its disappearance, Nikolai suggested. A soft chime echoed through the corridor, and suddenly the dim emergency lighting was replaced by full illumination. The team froze, weapons raised instinctively. Intruder alert, announced a calm, feminine voice from hidden speakers. Security protocols activated. Move, Maya ordered as a bulkhead began to descend, threatening to cut off their route. They ducked under it just as it sealed shut behind them with a definitive thud. The ship knows we're here, Rivera stated the obvious, his weapon scanning for threats. More than that, Nikolai added, examining a nearby terminal that had come to life. It's redirecting power, activating systems. I think our presence triggered some kind of automated response. Can you access any information? Maya asked, joining him at the terminal. Nikolai's fingers moved across the unfamiliar interface. It's an old system, but the architecture is recognizable. Let me see. His eyes widened. Captain, I'm accessing the ship's log. The last entry is dated March 17, 2298. The day the Vanguard disappeared, Talia said. Nikolai continued reading. According to this, the ship was deployed to protect Proxima Station during a rebel attack. But there's something else. A classified directive labeled Sentinel Contingency Protocol. What does it say? Maya pressed. I can't access the details, but it mentions something called temporal displacement shielding and a final failsafe. Nikolai looked up from the screen, his expression troubled. Captain, I think the Vanguard wasn't destroyed in that battle. I think it deliberately removed itself from our time stream as part of this protocol. A series of heavy, metallic clangs reverberated through the ship, followed by the whine of machinery coming to life. What was that? Dr. Walsh asked, his medical scanner forgotten in his hand. Weapons systems, Rivera answered grimly. The ship is arming itself. Maya's comm unit crackled. Captain. Raj's voice was urgent. The defense platforms are powering up. They're targeting shipping lanes, colonial outposts, anything that moves. We need to get to the bridge now, Maya decided. Nikolay, can you find us a route? Nikolay studied the terminal. There's an auxiliary access ladder 2 sections ahead. It should take us directly to the command deck. They moved quickly, following Nikolay's directions through the increasingly active ship. Panels lit up as they passed, and occasionally they heard mechanical sounds from behind closed doors, the vessel awakening around them. When they reached the access ladder, Maya went first, climbing the narrow rungs that would take them up 3 decks to the bridge. The others followed, their breathing echoing in the tight space. Captain, Talia called from below. I've been thinking about what Nikolay said. If this ship used some kind of temporal displacement technology to remove itself from our time stream, then where has it been for 150 years? Maya finished the thought. Exactly. And more importantly, why is it back now? They emerged onto the command deck, a spacious area dominated by control stations arranged in a semicircle around a central command chair. The bridge was empty of personnel, but fully operational. Screens displayed tactical information, sensor readings, and status reports. No crew, Dr. Walsh noted, scanning the area with his medical tricorder. No signs of recent human presence at all. Then who's flying the ship? Rivera asked. As if in answer, a holographic figure materialized in front of the command chair. A woman in an old Earth Command uniform, her features crisp despite the age of the technology projecting her. Intruders identified. The hologram stated, her voice the same one they had heard in the corridors. You are unauthorized personnel aboard a restricted military vessel. State your purpose. Maya stepped forward. I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Survey Vessel Artemis. Are you the ship's artificial intelligence? I am HFY, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Array, Primary Operations Controller of the UES Vanguard. You have not been authorized to board this vessel. HFY. Maya continued, trying to keep her voice level. We need to discuss the Sentinel defense grid. You've activated a weapons system that poses a danger to civilian populations in this sector. The hologram tilted her head, processing. The Sentinel grid is operating according to parameters. All non-identified vessels and installations are classified as potential threats until verification. That's the problem, Talia interjected. The identification protocols you're using are 150 years out of date. The ships in this sector can't possibly match your verification requirements. Araya's expression remained impassive. Current temporal displacement, 149 years, 8 months, 13 days since initiation of Sentinel Contingency Protocol. Status, operational. You know, Maya asked, surprised. You're aware that you've been displaced in time? Affirmative. Temporal displacement was a necessary component of the Sentinel Contingency Protocol. The Vanguard was removed from normal spacetime to preserve the final defense option should all other measures fail. Nikolay stepped forward. What is the final defense option? The hologram's eyes turned to him. In the event of imminent colonial collapse due to rebel forces, the Sentinel grid was designed to implement a scorched earth protocol. All compromised installations would be neutralized to prevent capture. The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. You're planning to destroy the colonies you were meant to protect. The directive remains valid. Colonial security has been compromised. Unknown vessels and installations detected throughout the sector. Because it's been 150 years. Maya exclaimed. The war is over. The rebels and Earth Command. They'd reached a peace agreement. The United Colonies formed as a result. Those unknown vessels are the people you were meant to protect. Araya seemed to consider this. Verification required. Captain, Rivera called urgently from a tactical station he'd been examining. The defense platforms are locked on targets. Firing sequence initiating in 10 minutes. Maya's mind raced. How did you convince an AI designed for war that peace had been achieved? What proof would it accept? Araya. She tried again. Access historical records from our shuttle's database. You'll find documentation of the Frontier Accords, the formation of the United Colonies, 150 years of peaceful cooperation. External data sources cannot be verified. Araya replied. Potential falsification risk too high. Dr. Walsh suddenly touched Maya's arm. Captain, I have an idea. Araya is running on quantum processors from that era, correct? They used biorhythmic authentication. Maya caught on immediately. Araya, can you scan our biological signatures, our DNA? The hologram nodded, and a blue light swept over the team. Genetic analysis complete, Araya announced. Human genome detected. Temporal marker analysis indicates anomaly. Cellular degradation patterns consistent with approximately 150 years of genetic drift from baseline Earth command parameters. We're human, Maya pressed, but we're humans who have evolved over 150 years since your time. That's not something that can be falsified. Araya stood motionless, lights flickering across her holographic form as she processed this information. Additional verification required, she finally said. If hostilities have ceased, explain the current governance structure of Earth and the colonies. For the next precious minutes, as the defense grid counted down to activation, Maya and her team provided a crash course in 150 years of human history. The peace accords, the formation of the United Colonies, the Great Expansion, the technological renaissance. And now, Maya concluded, we explore and build. The wars that defined your era are ancient history to us. Araya's hologram flickered, then steadied, cross-referencing with partial external data intercepts from historical surveillance. Patterns match. Probability of accurate historical progression, 89.7%. Is that enough? Talia asked. Will you stand down the defense grid? Sentinel Protocol Primary Directive. Protect human civilization from existential threats, Araya recited. If current status indicates absence of such threat, protocol parameters allow for reassessment. Maya's comm unit crackled. Captain. Raj's voice was strained. Defense platforms targeting systems locked. 2 minutes to firing sequence. Araya, please, Maya implored. If you fire, you'll be killing the very people you were programmed to protect. Generations of humans who have built peace from the ashes of the war you remember. The hologram's eyes seemed to focus on Maya with new intensity. Captain Chen, what would you do in my place? My directives are clear, but the situation is unprecedented. The question caught Maya off guard, but she answered honestly. I would remember the spirit of my mission, not just the letter. You were created to save humanity, not destroy it. Sometimes saving means letting go, allowing people to build something new, even if it's different from what was planned. A long moment of silence followed, broken only by the quiet beeping of the countdown on Rivera's console. Sentinel Protocol reassessment complete, Araya finally announced. Updated status. War concluded. Threat assessment downgraded. Defense grid deactivation sequence initiated. The tension on the bridge broke like a wave, the team exhaling collectively as Rivera confirmed the defense platforms powering down. Thank you, Maya said to the hologram. Query. Araya responded. What is to become of this vessel? My primary directive has been fulfilled. Maya hadn't considered that question. The Vanguard was a relic, a piece of living history, but also a vessel with incredible technology that had somehow preserved itself across a century and a half. Would you be willing to return with us? She asked. There's much we could learn from each other. your experiences, your technology. They're invaluable to understanding our own history. And your crew? Talia asked gently. The men and women who served aboard this ship, what happened to them? Araya's expression shifted subtly, becoming almost somber. When the Sentinel Protocol was initiated, the crew entered cryostasis to survive the temporal displacement. The process was imperfect. Their patterns are stored in the ship's memory, but physical restoration was not possible after extended displacement. You're all that's left of them, Maya realized. I carry their mission, Araya confirmed. Their purpose. Then help us honor that purpose, Maya said. The Vanguard was built to protect humanity. Come back with us. Help us understand what you know, what you've seen. Be the bridge between their time and ours. Araya's hologram seemed to consider this, her programming wrestling with implications beyond her original parameters. Accepted, she finally said. Temporal displacement field disengaging. Returning to normal space-time synchronization. The ship shuddered around them, lights flickering momentarily before stabilizing. Through the bridge viewports, Maya could see the stars shift slightly, as if a lens had been removed from in front of them. Captain, came Rad's relieved voice over the comm. The Vanguard has fully materialized on our sensors. It's completely solid now. We're coming home, Raj, Maya replied. And we're bringing a piece of history with us. As the team prepared to return to their shuttle, Maya paused before the hologram. Araya, I have one last question. The ship's records indicated you were engaged in a battle when you disappeared, but there's no battle damage. What really happened that day? Araya's holographic eyes met Maya's. The battle was lost. Earth Command was falling. The Vanguard was the last defense for Proxima Station, which housed the prototype for the temporal displacement technology. My captain made the decision to activate the Sentinel Protocol rather than allow the technology to fall into enemy hands. The ship was removed from time-stream moments before it would have been destroyed. They sacrificed themselves, Maya said softly, to create a failsafe. They believed that someday, humanity might need the Vanguard again, Araya confirmed. They entrusted me with their legacy. Maya nodded, a new understanding washing over her. The ghost ship hadn't been a threat. It had been a guardian, waiting at the edge of time for a crisis that never came. A final line of defense that humanity had been fortunate enough to never need. They would be proud, she told the AI, to know that the peace they fought for lasted. As the Artemis and the Vanguard set course for Earth, Maya stood on her bridge, watching the ancient warship keeping pace alongside them. The ghost from humanity's past was coming home at last, a reminder of the sacrifices made and the lessons learned along the journey to the stars. In her ready room that night, Maya recorded her official log entry, searching for words to describe their extraordinary encounter. Finally, she settled on a simple truth. Today we met our past, and in doing so, secured our future. The Vanguard reminds us that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to learn from history rather than repeat it. The ghost ship was never a phantom to be feared. It was a memory we needed to recover. The stars streaked by outside her viewport, the same stars that had witnessed humanity's struggles and triumphs across the centuries. And among them sailed two ships, one modern, one ancient, bound together by the unbroken thread of human ingenuity and the enduring hope for a better tomorrow.